but y'all are on the waiting list for one of the better ones. I forget which one y'all are in. The sections are supposed to be posted this coming Monday, maybe. And I'll send y'all a copy. And then if y'all want to come up here, let me help register y'all. I register y'all no matter what. So you can either mark it on the form, bring it to me, or if you want to just come up here and say, I want this, however you want it, it's fine.
It's
You're gonna need.
Sorry, I didn't follow.
Yeah,
I just said.
Okay, she is, and the link changed, maybe find it on the.
This kid's the hardest thing when you can pay all the kids.
If y'all look at it, and then I'll.
Just front and back.
Okay.
Typically, yeah, typically they're together for everything. I'll figure out that too.
So they have to.
Good. Are you? Really good.
dance with you could watch it. He would go around the floor when the dance ended. He would just stand there and look at one. Oh yeah, that was good after a week. He was doing the Baptist dance. There was a lot of distance.
That was good.
Are we on the air yet?
DJ this thing.
Or, we can- How you been?
I had to be in my head at 7:55, so
You got up late.
yeah. 5:15, which used to be a daily thing. I've fallen out of that.
It's a small thing.
Yeah. Pure youngins.
Congratulations on all y'all. Good boys, good teachers. Good young men, not just boys, good young men. Got their must have had a fine exercise.
Hit that trick.
Might get a mind trip.
Yeah. Picked it all up. After you.
Yeah, but we're sitting up.
Oh, it is.
Actually, I think unfortunately, that's why. I think you get a little bit of it, Rob. So don't pick Cameras there, guys got it. We're getting one party there. There. So if you look at this time, just a month.
It's like, I had a picture and I know.
So just shake.
I'm scared I'm gonna hit it in a minute and go back.
Turn it around.
I'm trying to keep my little notebook back.
I vote for this one to tell me.
You gonna log in?
Hello, Joe. Hey, there you go.
You could watch it.
Oh, yeah.
It's on Facebook. It's on the ISD Facebook.
I changed it link to YouTube.
It goes to YouTube. This one's on there too.
See, that's going straight in. I have no.
Okay,
Yeah.
it is 6:31. We're going to call the meeting to order. We have a quorum, so good there. Yes, Shane.
Attention, salute the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could you please bow your heads with me? Heavenly Father, we're just thankful for today. We're just thankful to be able to come here and just join together and make decisions for this district with your wisdom. We just ask that you be with us tonight. We just ask that you be with the board and you be with everybody in here, that we make we make decisions that would honor you. We're just thankful for your grace. We're thankful for your salvation. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Student spotlight. Mr. Andy, you're up.
At the regional competition level each year, students can take a solo and perform the solo for a judge, a university or scholastic judge. It's usually someone who is teaching somewhere in the state, or sometimes it's a college professor. And they sing through their pieces by memory all the way, and they are given a critique. And students at the regional level who get a first division rating on the most difficult solos then advance to state. And we have 4 of them in our choral program this year who did that. One of them, Julia Gaston, is not able to be with us tonight, but I'd like to introduce Henry Lee. Would you stand, Henry? He got a first division on his solo. And 2 of them are going to perform their solos for you. One, Atira Crouch. Big Kyle is going to sing the Vagabond. This is an amazing singer. Let me just say a little bit about him and then I'll move on. All of them are. Kyle is in the 9th grade. And for a student to step into the contest process with a class 1 solo, which is the most difficult, the judge takes a kind of a dim view of that because they like for you to start with easier solos and then the next year come back with Kyle was all in for this hard solo, and the judge was blown away. I think you will be too. Okay, it's all you.
All right, I'm Kyle. I'm just going to sing the Vagabond by Williams.
If Johnny have no love and the highway not me, that in the bush with stars to see, that I dip in the river, as the light as the light forever. That what will be born me, in the face of earth around, and the road before me, well, I seek not hope, no love, nor how friend to know me. All I seek above, and the road below me. Silencing the bird on tree, lighting the blue finger, light as near the frosty field, or the fireside heaven. What will I hear? What will to let us go before ye, in the face of earth around, and the road before me. Oh, has not hope, no love, nor how friend to know me. Oh, I see as the above, and the road below me.
Board, we're next. Oh, good job. Great job.
And now Atira Crouch.
My name is Satira Crouch, and I'm performing Flow My Tears by John Donald. Flow my tears, flow from your springs, exalt forever that we mourn. Where lies the bedroom, symphony sings, let me live for the Lord. Dawning lights shine, you know, nights are darkening now for those and is endless oceans deep roar. Light of the shifting days blows. Forever may thy laws be since pitiless fled, and tears and sighs and groans, my weary days, of joys and dear Lord is full of contentment, my fortune is good, and fear and grief and pain for my desires, for my hopes until these Lord. For you shadows that in darkness dwell, that take unto light.
These kids will be going in June to compete at the university. I'm sorry, well, it used to be UT, now it's at Henderson High School in Gatesville. So they have a little nest egg after school's out to go and compete competing. We have it. Thank you.
Thank you. We have some certificates, and we'd like to be first. Maybe one more, or is that it?
No. I just drove this recently.
Okay. Beautiful. Absolutely. We'll leave a hole right here. Great job.
Great job.
Absolutely. Okay. Don't worry about it. Good job.
Scratch me from the age, you know.
Do what? You can scratch me. I didn't know we were leaving.
Okay.
Good.
Scratch me. I was just gonna say, wait, great job.
No, they do a great job. The arts are fine in Gatesville ISD. Okay, student spotlight. We got some welders here. Yeah. Some state champs. Yeah. Can you repeat that real quick? State champions.
Come on up here, guys.
Absolutely.
Hey, Mr. Semmel, you get to come too, because you're gonna do a little talking.
Ready for that?
Pretty farewell, but I'm saying. So, I have a proud opportunity to introduce some state champions. It's not easy to make it to states, much less to win states. And last year, about this time, Mr. Semmel, we got back and he said, I think we can win it next year. So what do we got to do? We went to work and he went to work. I didn't do much of it. He went to work and put a plan together and built his team this year, and they went off and won it. They qualified and won it. And so, Mr. Semmel, I'll let you introduce the guys and then tell a little bit about what they had to do as far as 7 hours of welding in one day, the test they had to take with us. Give a little synopsis of that after you introduce the guys.
All right. So this is Joseph Nolte, Max Bartlett, and Colton Washburn. They had 7 hours to build a fire pit that they designed. But at the start of the competition, they give them, well, not the start of the competition, 2 weeks prior to the competition, they give them like a bill of materials. And they have to go through and figure out and build a blueprint. And then it can't have any more than 5 pounds of material left over.
Travis, what was the total pounds before?
I honestly don't know that.
Pretty heavy.
It's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming 5 pounds was not much.
Yeah.
They might have ended up with 1.5 pounds, maybe. So they did an excellent job on that, and they worked well together and got it done.
And so we don't have any pictures of the finished product because it's kind of I don't have one with me. This year they let you actually go look at it and see, but it was pretty impressive, a pretty impressive fire pit that they made. And congratulations, guys. We're proud of you. And we have a certificate here for you somewhere. Do y'all have any questions for them about the process?
Right, look.
Tell them what grade you're
Junior.
Senior.
Junior.
Well, it's going to be
We were up
defend
next
next year.
Yeah. No pressure. But, you know.
I think Max is actually the teaching assistant to begin with. So every time I walk in there, Max is in there. I definitely want to say a couple things from superintendent. This state championship, first let that resonate a little bit. Anytime you can say the word state champion, it's impressive. And this state championship is just as important as any football state championship, as any UIL championship. The sheer fact that you're the best in the state at a team competition, which you had to drive the entire process, not only says something great about you, but also says something great about Mr. Semmel. And we're not only the welding team is going, and the welding fabrication team, but the rest of the building trades and CTE area. So we are extremely excited for the direction that y'all are taking. I know the hours y'all put in. I saw a couple of the prototypes, and I go in there about once or twice a week, and the progress they made. Some of the parts that you forgot to say was not only did you design it, but then you had to do AutoCAD and actually have it architecturally blueprinted up in order to take it to the competition. So the work y'all do is very, very impressive, and I couldn't be happier or more proud of a group of students. So thank y'all very much.
Max, what are you going to do?
I'm going to MCC, engineering.
Any other questions? Congratulations, guys.
I would give you the welded G that I think you've made all of them. So something's telling me that you have one at your house already.
All they need, probably.
Cool, like a man.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Celebrate too.
I'll forget.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, here we go. Moved a little to your, oh, sorry. There you go. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Congratulations, guys.
Good job.
We're lucky to have you.
I like Will.
Thank
Good job.
Skills you say.
Good job, guys. Yes, sir.
You look nice and clean.
That's what my heart is.
You're welcome.
When the shots.
Okay, we got the student spotlight.
We recently took 4 intermediate students to Waco, Texas to compete in Future Chef Waco, and Kinley is one of them. We took 2 4th graders and 2 5th graders, and that night we were about 35 students. They all competed with recipes called Asian fusion recipes, and we entered them, everyone entered their students into the national level, which had 256 students competing at that level, and Kinley and one other student went up for that, and Kinley won the top 40. So for winning the top 40, she got a mini iPad 4 and a case and some goggles and some nice little goodies from Sodexo. And then there was the next level, the top 5, but nobody in Texas made it. But Kinley has definitely gone further than any of our other students have in the past. We started off with 11, and we did Future Chef Gatesville, and then we took 4 students from that group and went to Future Chef Waco. The big difference between Gatesville and Waco is in Gatesville, students make the recipes at home, and they bring them and demonstrate and sample them that night. When they get to Waco, they have 1 hour to take groceries that we've bought and put together their recipe in a kitchen they've never been in before, with equipment they've probably never used before, but they did an awesome job, all of them did. So Kinley went the furthest for us this year.
Kinley, I don't know if your dad ate as much as your Asian guacamole as I did that night, but it was fantastic. So congratulations. It's pretty awesome.
And Kinley was probably the calmest one in the kitchen. She was like, I've done this before. It's no
Oh, yeah.
big deal.
4-H background.
She's also an up-and-coming softball pitcher.
So's her sister.
I know. Behind their coach.
So congratulations, Kinley. We have a certificate and 1 more picture. Actually, 2 more pictures. Congratulations. If you'll hold that, we'll step back.
Can I get to share it? We do fight it after. Fight for it.
Here we go.
Gail, you can come in too.
Hey, Gail, come up. Come over.
Yes, that's, there you go. That's, all right, let me just quickly out. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Great job.
Share that chocolate with
She's gonna say what all that.
Oh, she said, "Why?"
I'm gonna go page.
Because she's never won a iPad playing softball.
Good thinker.
This is what.
Oh, wow. Okay, teacher spotlight. So,
We're up.
Tonight's teacher spotlight will honor Mrs. Marie Barrows, who was the main recipient of the Educators Credit Union Student Choice Award. So on, I think it was February the 27th, they made this surprise visit. Representatives from Educators Credit Union and the Channel 25 film crew just showed up at her door. And they were reading the Three Little Javelinas, and Marie was standing there with this huge mounted javelina head. So I told the crew, I said, "What, Memorial yet?" So we have with us the young lady who, and her letter, the young lady that nominated Mrs. Barrows. So Michaela Williams, would you please share your very touching letter?
Miss Barrows is an amazing teacher. She helps every student and treats everyone the same. Mrs. Barrows makes learning fun. We have learned about other parts of the world. She helps us find the answer if we do not know it. Miss Barrows always encourages us and is positive. I love Miss Barrows.
Aww. We all love Miss Barrows. Congratulations, Marie. And I have to say that the representatives from Educators Credit Union and Channel 25, they stayed for a long time. And I think they said they enjoyed their time in the classroom. They were so complimentary of our students and Mrs. Barrows in the classroom. They just felt right at home. So that's always good to hear, and I wanted to share that. So thank you, Mrs. Barrows, for. I was this close to getting one. I was this close to getting one. That looks pretty good right there. Okay. So this one, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Hey, that was awesome. Be proud. Okay, public comments. We had someone sign up, Ms. Crouch, but I think she exited.
Yeah, she just wanted to write on the choir.
Just wanted to write
She
on
didn't realize it would not happen at the same time.
And we don't have anybody else that signed up.
Not that I'm aware of.
Consent agenda. Has everybody had a chance to look through that?
I did. I got your bill the other day. It is next to impossible for me to do this ahead of time. I go to work at 5:30 in the morning. I get home 5:30, 6 o'clock in the evening. I'll have a week or two here where I can get it done now.
Yeah.
But other than that,
That's fine. I was just trying to save some time in the meeting. If you can't get it done, that's fine. Ask
we're gonna get some information on the workman's comp.
Yeah, I have it all for you.
That and the only other thing I had was on the phone book charger card. Are they breaking or are people losing them?
Let me look real quick. Where we at?
on page 15 of 22. $284 a piece. Just curious.
That's gonna be a Chromebook itself, that should not be a cart.
Charger cord, like battery charger cord, I'm assuming that plugs into the Chromebook?
Yeah, Ms. Harper? There was a charge for $284 for two of them for Chromebook charging cords this past month. Can you enlighten us on that one?
All of the Chromebooks are hardwired into Chromebook carts. And all of the wires are attached to those carts, and that order is just one complete set of spare cords.
So if you check it out and take it to somewhere else.
Gotcha.
For
Okay,
charging.
thank you. Just
Yeah.
curious. HVAC filter service. Do we bid that local? I know it's going to an out of town company. Is it not?
It depends on the issue with it. Typically,
Camfield USA Incorporated.
well, typically we have two certified HVAC on our staff, and probably 99% of it is done within our staff.
Well, I mean, this was, $3,700 worth of, I just wonder if the local merchants get a chance to bid on that. They're paying our bill.
There. Now, that I believe is the lift to move it on top of one of our buildings. So in order to hook that up. So.
Filter service, or to get up there and change the filter?
No, we change our filters. Coach,
Dean.
Yeah, Dean has done it for 15, 20 years.
Okay, well, on page 16 of 22, down here, 2/3 of the way down the page, it's HVAC filter service. I mean, that's $3,700, but that makes, $3,700 worth of.
So we have a lyric on there.
Okay. And then the reimbursable expenses again?
Got that for you.
Okay, good deal. That's all.
Do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second? Any other questions or discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? Motion passes. Information items. The Education Foundation.
Did I see, look at that, this is timely.
I've been waiting out there just to make that entrance. I expected more.
We had a run through a while ago that you just missed, that you can run through. Let me give a quick little introduction to Bruce, and he can come up and kind of say his piece from the foundation's perspective. We have gone through, I guess, the last couple of years, the foundation, because as you're on the foundation as a board member, you have kids that graduate, you have kids that people move that were originally on the board from the original group of Education Foundation board members. And we're fortunate that really we didn't have a president, we didn't have a true sitting president and vice president. And we had Joe Campbell and Bruce. I approached them, and both of them said the exact same thing. Well, I won't do it unless this person is with me, and I won't do it unless this person's with me. So we were able to get a commitment from Bruce and Joe Campbell, and I think probably in the last 30 days, they've done as much as I've seen in the last 2.5 years for the foundation. So if you've had a chance to talk to Joe Campbell or Bruce Toms, the energy they bring in anything they do. They're fully committed. And the foundation's a unique deal because it's not necessarily a school function, right? So it's an external function, but I sit on the board, and we have 2 members of our acting board that have to sit on the board as well, with Mary Ann and Michelle. So it's a great thing because ultimately every dollar that's raised goes directly back to teachers for innovative type practices. And we were very late this year. We had 3 grants initially submitted, and typically we get 15 to 20. And so we relaunched a mini grant cycle, I guess it was just about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And then about a week and a half, 2 weeks to get the grant in. We had 47 grant applications, which is more than the last 3 years combined. So I'm going to stop there and let you brag on the other pieces that we've kind of done.
So sorry about being late. I bragged first about my kids, so it was at a soccer banquet, so I was a little bit late coming there. I'm gonna sit here so I can see the whole room. But no, so we presented to the entire teacher body right before spring break and said, listen, we're taking this over. There were only 3 grant applications that made it in by the October deadline of 2017, and they sat. So first and foremost, we came in and said, what are we going to do? They made it in on time. We're gonna award those, and we presented those. Actually, it was 4 because Marla Tavis came in right at the end as well. And we said, we want to redo this. We have this money to give away by our bylaws. We need to give this money away. And like Eric said, 47 applications, ranging from robotics to green screens for play and history to a life-size mannequin for anatomy, physiology, AP bio. So many great ones, lots of technology. You know, how can we do this? Lots of innovative teaching techniques, cubes and bands for stepping and seating arrangements and reading, and a lot of neat ones that went into some of our special, our kids that may not have English as their primary language. So let's expand our libraries. So we're really blessed to have so many applications come in. And the great news is we were, in our first one, we gave away $18,000. And in our second wave, we gave away $28,000. And the partnering with the school, we were able to, and have you talked about the technology yet?
No, so we have instructional materials allotment. That's a state allotted money for technology slash, any type of resource that's going back to the classroom. So we were able to, I guess it's additional, 60 cards or 60 Chromebooks across the 75 Chromebooks across the total. Yeah, 220 Chromebooks total across additional Chromebooks across the district that we're able to disperse throughout the other parts of the district. So,
and as the Education Foundation, we love this, right? So half of the teachers wanted, I need more Chromebooks, I need more Macs. And when we saw Macs, we said, this is a Chromebook district. We know you like them, but we can't have multiple OSs. And so we saw those, and to be able to ship those allowed us to award more grants. And so we gave away 42 and approved by bylaws, because we had to look at what we could give away, had to further the education of the students. So we were able to approve 42 of those grants, and that equaled out to $28,000. But more importantly, almost all of the technology grants were approved or able to be used by the district. So we feel that this will be a great stepping stone to next year, because the teachers already are saying, boy, next year already, I've had multiple teachers saying, either I wish I had put it in, or I know what I'm going to order next year. And once they see the approval letters come out, and we're going to get to as many faculty as we can. It doesn't look like Joe will, so I'll be running around to all the faculty meetings this week and next, and we'll get those award notices out. We won't interrupt a lot of the teaching classes like it's been done before, but we really want them to kind of spring into the summer and fall, and then we're going to start donations. And when it comes down to it, we feel that we have enough momentum going that we will have an even larger pool of money to go and donate next year. And some of the things like gala, some other activities that we're planning this fall. And most importantly, we're going to emphasize teacher giving and recognize those teachers that give back to the Education Foundation, and that this is something for you, that no longer is it going to be held back. You're going to get awarded, and you're going to be noticed. And when we go out to the businesses here, we're going to be able to say, this robotics is what you bought with your donation. Not, hey, I gave 500, I never knew what happened. But we have checks. So the teachers will come in, they'll have the students write nice letters. We're going to have pictures. So when we go out and solicit donations, we can say exactly where the money's going. And so we're really proud of that. And we've already had people who donated 500 this year, and past 2 years, 5,000, because they weren't getting their money back, say, well, we're back in fully. And so we're really excited, and we're glad to talk to the board about anything that you want to know about the grants. We really want to kind of keep it secret until we, approve them and the teachers know. But if you want to look through there, it's going to be posted. You'll see the Facebook and the website now updated. It's about 2 years old. So as I told the teachers, don't say, bear with me. I never like that, so I'll never accept a bear with me, but we're making lots of strides. So if you have questions, ask us. If something's not updated, bug me and we'll get it updated. But very excited and lots of energy, lots of caffeine on my part. So we're happy to do it. Questions?
42 out of 47. That's absolutely incredible.
Donations and fundraisers is what it's on.
Yeah.
That's
I probably should know that, but.
No, and you'll see us at homecoming. We're gonna go back to the gala, which didn't happen last year, and I think it's really important that we do. So.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Very much.
Thanks, Bruce.
Glad I could make it.
We're holding up just for you. Special Education Review Report.
Hi, I'm Carlin Keller. I'm with the Texas Association of School Board. Is there anything place particular I should stand, or is this, okay?
No, we always like to watch people just kind of where they
Like,
stand.
where do you go? I'll stand on the side.
One of these days we're going to get a podium. Yeah, sure, over here. And you can use your little.
That's why I asked.
You're going to be seen by millions of people all over.
Actually, 5 minutes of.
It's only 33, so. Counting.
Thank y'all so much. TASB was honored to come out and look at your special ed program. We were contacted by the district in the fall and worked on some specifics and actually came out. We spent 5 days here on site, going through classrooms, looking at folders, talking with staff. We did staff interviews with teachers, with administrators, with central office, with related service staff. We did full reviews on about 5% of your special ed folders, and then we did spot checking for certain things based on that review of those 5%. We visited, let's see, it's in here, 26 classrooms. We're able to see about 27 staff through that time, a little over 100 special ed students. And so, we found some great things going on. Each of you received a report that goes through each of the findings. I can certainly sit and go through every one of them. I had one of my staff members that came out and did some of the walkthroughs as well as myself. It was a great opportunity to really get to know your staff and your students. It's so obvious that there is a love of the kids. That was communicated both verbally and non-verbally in each of the schools throughout that process. I've been in education now 25 years. I've only been with TASB for about 2 years now. And so I have sat in the seat of the teacher and the diagnostician and the school counselor and special ed and such. And it was a joy to see that. Regardless of who we talked to, there was that joy and that love of kids. Now for kind of the other side of things, we did see some things that we would recommend you consider for improvement potentially, or even just attention. One of the things that we were asked to do was to look at your folders, and substantially the folders are complete. So if I go through and I look at all of the different requirements of the folders, and I can check off and say yes, it's there. What I didn't see is a depth or robustness to the information.
So can we explain folders real quick?
Sure. Thank you. So for each of the special ed students, we do an IEP, an individualized education plan, every year. And then every 3 years, we do a full evaluation where we assess the student to ensure that they actually qualify for special ed. So part of that folder review is actually looking at the assessment and looking at the IEPs for at least the last year. If there's a reason, we'll dig in further. And so substantially, the information is there. I know y'all are in an unusual situation in that you were with a co-op and then you've moved out onto your own. And so I did try, I'm the one that actually did the folder reviews. And so I did try to look at the difference in what you were bringing over from the co-op versus what was being done here in-house. What I saw, again, they were substantially compliant. So I could check off and say, yes, that's there. But unfortunately, there wasn't a robustness to the information. I'll be honest and tell you, usually I've read probably thousands of IEPs and FIEs over the years. And typically when you go through that, you get to know the kids. You get to know what their disability is, what their needs are, who they are. I didn't get that feeling. I'll be honest and tell you. If I were a teacher taking those, I would struggle. What I saw was some patterns and patterning around disabilities where similar words were used for similar disabilities. Even with the assessment, some similarities there. And so what I would say is, as you're moving out of the co-op, is really encouraging the staff to really be more robust in that information. I had the opportunity to talk with your related service staff, your assessment staff, as well as your director. And I think they communicated to me that they understood that they were having some of those frustrations too. In fact, everything that I found, I don't think there was a lot of surprise. I've talked afterwards and, I met with your superintendent, and there was no surprise in those findings. And so I would say, that was definitely a concern for me. The other thing, we did classroom walkthroughs. As I said, we went through, we visited every campus, attempted to visit every one of your special ed classrooms. You had good staff who were trying, but I'll tell you, my concern for Gatesville would be, I saw kids either fully in special ed or completely in regular ed. There really wasn't what we call a continuum. And so when we look in special ed, we expect a continuum where kids are either in mainstream with no support, or they're in mainstream with a little support, or they're in mainstream with a lot of support, they're sitting in resource, and what I saw was really dichotomous. They were sitting in a self-contained classroom, or they were sitting in resource, and they really didn't go to regular ed, or they didn't get a lot of services. In fact, your numbers when it comes to children within 75% or more of the day is really extremely high. And so what that sometimes says is that maybe there's some training needed for staff. That was really borne out in the focus groups. In the focus groups, both regular ed and special ed teachers communicated, that they weren't real sure, like what is inclusion and how could we do this more effectively. In both cases, the special ed teacher said the general ed teacher needed some more training, and the general ed teacher said the special ed teachers needed some more training. So it was definitely, there wasn't any ill will between the two, but I think that, I don't think you can do a panacea where you can just throw everybody out. I think y'all have a history of maybe more restrictive environments, but maybe starting to try moving those kids into mainstream settings. Potentially, it's also some of your issues with scores. If special ed kids aren't getting access to that general curriculum, how can they ever pass a test that's based on general curriculum? In just about all of the classrooms I went to, it was full group instruction, which is concerning to me from a special ed standpoint, because when I have, 7, 4, 6, 10 kids in there, and they're all doing the same thing, that's not typically what I would expect of a special ed classroom. I would expect to see more individualization. Your PPCD, your preschool, your babies, really there seems to be a huge push that I would say that what I saw was, if I am a pre-K child in Gatesville and I get to come to school, I go to PPCD. There wasn't I didn't see other options. And so again, I would just recommend that you look at some standardization of trying to move some of those kids in. I tell people, and I think even said in a couple of the focus groups, our kids, when you live in smaller towns, because I grew up in a smaller town, they live with each other, right? And so they're accustomed to seeing, Johnny in the classroom. And typically when we see kids that are being moved into more restrictive environments, it's a teacher thing. It's typically not a kid thing. And so that would be an area that I would recommend. Your related service, look like your related service staff, we're definitely very passionate about what they're doing. Purely looking at numbers, you have a lot of kids identified for speech, more than what I would expect. And so just, paying some attention to it, and that may be coming out of a co-op again, where there's not maybe that rigor that you might do in-house. And so looking at that, I think, is certainly something I would recommend. I heard good things, even as we were preparing for this. I'll tell you, a lot of times when we come in and do reviews, it's not with the board involvement. It's because the staff is wanting to know or superintendent's wanting to know. And so I think that speaks well of your district, that you're wanting to know what's going on and you're wanting to make sure that you provide the best for your kids. And so I think, it was a great opportunity. We enjoyed it. There was never a point where people were not welcoming, not honest. The principals carved out time to talk with us, administration did. And so I think overall, you'll see kind of the findings throughout. If you look there towards the end, it's kind of the overall findings. But I think you have a great program. I think you have a great opportunity as you step out, kind of from the co-op to take some ownership. Some of the things that I talked with Ms. Pruitt about was really coming up with a vision around your program. I know she's leaving and you're bringing in someone else, but really coming up with a vision of this is what we want for our special ed kids. And I think really having everybody be a partner in that. Sometimes, regular ed can say, oh, they're special ed, and special ed can say, oh, they're ours. And I think everybody owning that program would be something that I would recommend. But overall, I think, you have some great practices. You have people that love kids. You have great facilities. I didn't hear people complaining about budgets, not having what they want. What I heard was really, wanting some curriculum, wanting some transition. How can we move from one campus to the other, and making sure that there's some conversations around those things. So, any questions?
And Dr. Keller, we had this 3 board members that were not on the board
Okay.
whenever we initiated it. So just to kind of catch everybody up, and I think we're pretty caught up. But this is something, as we transitioned out of the co-op, we felt that it was kind of a board recommendation, like you mentioned, for us to, okay, where are we at? Where we're drawing from the co-op. Let's get a real true picture from a deficit audit standpoint of where we're currently at. So as we really move into our own and develop systems for our own, then we have the ability to ensure that all the pockets and holes that we may have had are filled. So we looked at it from an opportunity to get better. We invited y'all in. It's been TEA coming in. So for us, it was a really good thing. And I personally read through it, and there's some great things happening. There's also some opportunity for improvement. But I think that's the important thing.
Absolutely.
Can I ask you just a question about BPCB?
Sure.
What would be options that you're talking about?
Sure. Pre-K is this unusual situation where you can actually put the kiddos into the regular pre-K, and they flourish really well. I think sometimes we think of kiddos as needing to go into this special environment, but I actually did the walkthrough here, and I saw many of those children, and I thought, what are we doing different? If I were to walk across the hallway into the pre-K, what are we doing different in here that's not going on over here? It looked very similar. They were doing co-group, they were doing calendars, they were touching the board, they were, exactly what as a principal that I would see in a pre-K classroom. And so what I would say, pre-K is also the way that it is the area where you can get teachers that are dual certified. It is the only grade level where a teacher can be both a special ed and regular ed teacher. The only grade level. So, I think really looking at some of those alternatives. At the federal level, there's a huge push. The last district where I was director at, we started pushing kids in at pre-K and communicating to everybody, they're going to stay there for the next 13 years. So first grade, get ready. Second grade, get ready. And so we grew our inclusion, kind of that process 1 year at a time. And it takes a little time. You're also kind of pushing in some others. But I think in pre-K, really asking for each child, what are we doing differently here than what we're doing across the way with our other babies? So.
One more thing about the folders. Is there a fine line that you can cross between having not enough and too much?
I think as long as you're focused on the need of the child, I don't believe you can do too much. And that's my opinion. I think if you're just documenting to be documenting and you're putting things in there that you're not delivering, then that becomes too much. What I did get communicated, which I thought was interesting, is we started talking with people. They were like, well, yeah, but we all know that Carlin needs this, this, and this, and so we just give it to her. Like, no, that needs to be in the IEP. If we all know, then we should all be writing it down. You know, the IEP is that roadmap. So I think, you know, you think about, you know, when you're taking notes, you know, even to a board meeting, right? You can write verbatim what happens, and the legal law will come back and say, we don't need to be that verbatim. But I think when it comes to IEPs, you need to talk about what a child needs. And if they need a service in order to progress, then that's what we need to put in there. And what I saw frequently were similar goals for children that were LD, you know, similar explanations of how they progressed, similar decisions. And so making sure that you individualize it more. So to put too much is putting things that the child doesn't need, just because that's what the school delivers. For instance, I worked with a district not too long ago that put co-teach on all of their classes, all of the periods, because there was a co-teacher in there. No, just because a co-teacher's in the class doesn't mean we put it on the IEP. Put it on the IEP if that child needs that service. So that would be an explanation. Yes?
So your PPCD point, I'm assuming what you're saying is they could derive more benefit perhaps by reducing the population, moving the kids that can function well in regular pre-K, and perhaps enhance the derived benefit.
For those kids that absolutely
really
need that. Yeah, because you had a couple kiddos and y'all had, you know, in that particular classroom, you had a teacher and you had 3 paras, I think it was, and you had some kids that certainly needed that level of service. It was, there was no doubt, you know, that there were children that needed that level of service. But there were others that
could have functioned.
Could have, most likely. Now, I understand, I saw them for a, you know, a finite time, you know, maybe on a good day, you know, and all of those things. But I did actually leave and go to another classroom a couple of times down, a couple of rooms kind of around the corner and down, and they were doing very similar things. So.
And then transition from the co-op to the local, does that seem to be going smoothly?
Absolutely. I think that folks I talked to were mindful of the changes. I think there needs to be a little communication, making sure the entire staff know everything that's going on maybe. But certainly your central level staff had a plan, they had a thought. Again, they identified that the assessments were, maybe, you know, they comply, but they might not be as robust. So there wasn't, and interesting enough, I had finished the folder reviews, the initial parts of the folder reviews before I did the groups, the focus groups. And so it was interesting that, you know, they were communicating exactly what I saw in the folders. So staff was well aware of it. There was no one, I think, that would be surprised when if you came in and said, we need to make this more individualized. We need to make it more robust.
More eye to the EP.
Yes, exactly.
Will you be doing a follow-up?
I certainly can. You know, TASB works with the district in many different ways, and we can certainly do that.
We need to know if we've corrected the problem.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend that. You know, within a year, maybe about this time next year.
Certainly.
Let's give us a good year to implement.
That's right. To give you the time to turn all of those.
That's a great point.
Absolutely.
What's your recommendation for districts doing special ed audits? Like how often should that be happening?
You know, I will tell you that it's a 3-year process for identification, and so certainly as a follow-up. But typically, you're going to see it a 3 or 6. You know, in those types of leave. It's certainly not something that you need to go through every year. You know, there's other ways you can spend the money to support kids. Minimally, I would say 3. But I even kind of, you know, as a director, I think that might be too much of kind of that micromanagement piece. You know, you have staff turnover, you have those kinds of things. You know, it naturally occurs at some level, you know, through the TEA process. And certainly if you've been paying attention to what's going on in special ed, and that's one thing I didn't mention that I should say, you know, at the state level, you know, TEA has been kind of slapped on the hand because of identification. And that's not what I saw here. You all are at 11.5% when, you know, the rest of the state's being kind of slapped around because they're 8 and below. And so while I can't say every child is identified, you're certainly at the numbers nationally that we expect them to be. And so, you know, I think there's processes in place, and there's going to be more that are looking at your program. So, you know, maybe a follow-up, but after that, I don't think it's something you have to do on a, you know, the process kind of, the process of doing IEPs, the process of doing FIEs tend to take care of that as you begin to build in structures in place and expectations.
Any questions?
Thank you. I mean,
Okay,
it's
great.
been very enlightening, and again, appreciate the feedback. We wanted it, and I think it was coming out of the co-op. I think it was perfect timing.
Great, great.
Appreciate your honesty and opportunity to better.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you.
So you guys are developing a plan?
Marcia is for a year. Oh, for this, yes. Take all this, do a whole entire process improvement based off of this information.
Okay, and you're gonna, you all come and
Absolutely.
let us know what
Absolutely.
the plan is. Okay. Summer feeding program.
Good evening, board. Good to see you again. I'm here to tell you about an exciting outreach that Gatesville and ISD has in our community. And it was started 8 years ago in 2011. I think you may be the only one on the board that was here in 2011, right? So it is something that the board approved 8 years ago. And this is to feed our children in the community during the summer. It's a program, of course, it's funded by the federal government. It's part of the National Lunch Program. And everyone who is fed is a free. So they qualify for full funding from the federal government. So it's a great availability. Kind of stuck your neck out as a board when you first approved it 8 years ago, because we didn't know, are we going to make a profit? Are we going to break even? We're going to, lose money or what? But that first year we fed about 5,000 meals. And since then the program has grown. Last year we fed 3 times that many, about 15,000. And it generally had been running about a $3,000 to $5,000 negative each year, a loss. So last year, our cafeteria staff really hustled. And basically anywhere they saw kids gathered together in a camp, or pretty much anywhere in the town, they were going to go deliver some lunches.
You can find them at Relay, you can find them at, a snow cone stand.
So that's how you go from, 5,000 meals to 15,000 meals last year, and going from a $3,000 to $5,000 loss to a $6,000 profit last year. So kudos to Gail and her fantastic staff. Because they really work hard in the summer. So, when a lot of people take off in the summer, these guys are working. There's only one day in the summer that we will not be doing summer feeding, July 4th. All the other days of summer vacation, our crew's going to be working, feeding kids here in our community.
During the week.
During the week, Monday through Friday. Exactly. Most of the cooking, all the cooking, I should say, will take place at the elementary cafeteria. So we, at some point, we used to do 2 different cafeterias. Now we're doing it 1. So this is part of consolidating, getting more productive. So we're doing all the food preparation at 1 campus. And then the delivery will take place at multiple campuses, wherever the kids are. Summer school, camps, whatnot. So they have been very aggressive in increasing the number of students in our community who benefit from this program. And it's all paid by the federal government. And now, like last year, we actually made a little profit. So we anticipate again being able to operate the 2018 summer feeding program, at least at a break even. That's now our goal. We thought break even at some point was going to be a long way in the future. But now it's here. We know how to do it. They hustle real hard. They work real hard. They've got it down to science, and it's going to happen. Any questions? I know you're proud, because that is a great service to the Gatesville community. A lot of kids get fed. Thanks, Gail, again.
Thank you.
Let's go. Thank you. You can stay if you want.
I inadvertently gave 2 of you my master.
Hey, you're looking at like I need to
How do
make
you
eye
know
contact. So
which
what,
is?
you can come.
If it doesn't say for school.
If it doesn't say school board, then it's my master.
I got one.
I'm sorry. I went out there and realized, I gave
I think it's our turn. I think it's easier.
You got the two.
You got our money back?
Okay, well, one of them.
Thanks, Neil.
Sorry.
Bye, Dr. Scott. Spring survey, 2018. All right, so every year we do our best to solicit feedback, and I've sent you all the various surveys that we did in a separate PDF because it was so large. Tonight, we're not going to go through line by line, but I do want to share areas in like the SPED audit looked at, areas in which we're doing really well, and areas in which we can improve upon. So we'll kind of jump in. Typically we've done two types of surveys. We do a staff survey and then we do a parent survey. We felt we really needed to triangulate the information a little more and see if it's consistent from one survey to the next. So we looked at it from a faculty satisfaction. We had 167 out of the 217 that we distributed. So we had 77% of our teachers partake in that specific survey, which is an extremely high number. Parent satisfaction survey, we had 284 responses that we did there. Student support survey, and we'll take a look at that. We had 114 out of 217. That's our programs, GT, ESL, those type of programs. And then we had stay interviews where it was myself and the teacher one-on-one, roughly 45 minutes to an hour. That one's very new, so it was a student support survey from previous years. And I ended up doing 81 stay interviews that were 45 minutes to an hour long. Marcy saw my schedule for about 3 weeks, and it was, I don't think she saw me for 3 weeks. It was busy. But I can tell you that out of all the things I've done as an administrator, from the assistant principal through superintendency, the stay interviews, having 81 far exceeded my expectations to begin with. But the dialogue that happened within that 45 minutes to an hour was very enlightening and very rich in depth. Because it wasn't just, I'm passing you in the hall, hey, how you doing? It wasn't superficial at all. It became very, very important to me as I move forward, and I'll continue doing them as long as I'm superintendent, because it really, I connected, I felt, with the ones that wanted to participate deeper than I probably ever have as a leader. So let's jump in. So the first one was faculty satisfaction. Again, 77% of our faculty. And this year, let me go back a little bit, because we did do a third-party administration. Some of the feedback we got last year is they didn't like using Google Forms. They felt like it could be traced or backed, and so we use Qualtrics. Qualtrics is a survey they have to have a contact point for, but they're a third-party administrator that will distribute their survey and analyze the survey through a third-party distribution system. The other thing was on that is, as we did this, and we started analyzing it, really we're able to analyze it deeper because of the metrics that we use behind the scenes on it. So part of the teacher survey, there's 5 basic parts. First one being general background. Second one being school-wide academic health and reciprocal support, meaning what do teachers feel about other teachers, whenever they're looking at their colleagues and how they report to their colleagues. And then association with admin on campus, with school level support from front office to counselors, librarians, nurses, custodial staff. That's an aspect that we didn't have in the past, but it's just as important as anything else that we're doing. And then the next one there is association with central office support. So let's just jump in. So the first one is academic health and reciprocal support with peers. And I'm really going to look at things that I felt were really, really good to highlight. Kind of where's that litmus of, if it's 90% or higher, I would consider from neutral to high, I consider that a positive. If it starts getting in the 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s, whatever it be, that's definitely something you should look at. So the green highlights are some of the ones that I really want to spend some time talking about tonight. So if you look on peer association, teachers have a strong skill set to produce meaningful student outcomes. They felt that way against each other at 96%. This school is a good place for me to work and learn, 95%. And overall, I give my score 98%. So really good feedback there. Areas in which I think from a delta doesn't necessarily mean bad. Delta means how can we improve, or technically means change. Teachers here hold one another accountable for working hard. Oh, is that there? Yeah, that's okay. So, is that the live stream? It's working? That's good.
I can't see the screen.
No, you can come over. You can come over. Come on, there's two over here. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's working. Yeah. Shelley, what are you up to? Oh, we lost one. It was the spin on it. Yeah, it's probably since I started. Yeah, exactly. So if you look at it from teachers hold one another accountable for working hard, that doesn't mean that teachers aren't working hard. That means 88%, or 82% felt they did, but the other 18%, that's something, how do you hold each other accountable?
That's 82% of 81 teachers that were interviewed, is that correct?
No, so there's four different types of survey, okay? This one here is this one, which is, see, this one's a faculty satisfaction. So it's 167 out of 217 teachers provided this. So this, and I'll break them up into different surveys. So this whole one is about teachers. The next one will be about something else.
Okay.
So forth. Okay. So out of this, 18% of the 180, whatever it was, 187. Okay. So teachers hold each other accountable. Teachers here are confident that they can motivate their students to think and work hard. Okay, again, those are reciprocal. Those are things that we can look at. School culture here makes everyone feel obligated to teach well. Similar question, you get 12%, so look at the other side, it's 88%. Yeah, so the numbers even at 12% are actually not that bad as you're looking through them. This one is dealing with same faculty survey, but dealing with campus administration. So district-wide campus administration team communicates a clear vision for the school, and it's interesting because as you go through the various different surveys, the 4 different types of surveys, a clear vision actually resonates through all of them, which means we're finally, I think everyone's becoming on one page. 97% were either neutral or positive, and the vast majority of those were positive. Campus administrative team cares about me as a person, 93%. Considering everything, campus score of 96%. Again, this was all faculty members going back to the assistant principals and principals specifically.
So is that every campus that you didn't select out?
You have all the individual campuses, okay? So you can look at it that way. I didn't want to share other people's campuses in this setting because this is a district school board. This is an individual school board. So you can break it down. It's already disaggregated for you. What you can do is open that tab on those various charts. And
that was the follow-up, I believe you said.
Yeah, that's correct.
Following the,
Yep.
okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so school administrators are aware of what goes on in my classroom. This is 23%, which means, that there's 23% of the teachers aren't comfortable with administration feeling that they know exactly what's going on in the classroom, which typically comes back to I don't see my administrator enough in my classroom. The second one there is once the campus administrative team has handled the discipline issue of a student, you felt it was, and it had satisfied, not satisfied, all the way down to it was just wrong. And so if you look at that, there was 19% there. So even though they did a job of rating their administrative team, 2 points that I really want to dive into that we're already diving into. We already have a discipline committee that we have a couple board members that are involved in. We have campus representation throughout the district. And again, it goes back to that feedback loop. If I was to nail it down, it's that feedback loop and being a part of that conversation. So I think we're heading in the right direction there. I think we're closer on some finalization on that committee. I think we'll be better off here shortly. Keep going. This one is school level support. So front office, counselors, nurses, librarians, custodial staff. A lot of great things happening with the front office, librarians, nurses, and even custodial. So I want to celebrate them. Sometimes they don't get enough recognition. Librarians on your campus provide all students with opportunity to embrace reading and a love for the library. That's 97%. That's pretty awesome. Same thing with just being an engaging opportunity throughout the day. So you'll see a lot of people coming back and forth in the library all day long now. And it's rare to walk by a library and see it empty. You always, at every campus, you'll see kids in the library, and that's exactly what we want. 3 years ago, when we talked about we need to see kids reading, loving reading, and they're starting to have that. So that was good to see. The nurse on the campus supportive of students as they're sent down. They're not disregarded, sent back without being helped. So 98% said that. 99% said the nurse on the campus is responsive during health-related emergencies. There's a lot of times at various schools, there will be an emergency and a nurse has to go from her office to go, meet someone that's either gotten hurt, injured, even a teacher that got hurt or injured, and they respond very, very quickly to that at 99%. Campus custodial staff are responsive when there's an emergency. Same thing. If there's unfortunately, if there's throw up or if there's bleeding, they typically take care of that pretty quickly. On the Delta side, looking for change, the front office staff provides teachers with day-to-day materials needed for the classes. And this one, as I told the junior high, different front offices handle things a little bit differently. So front office at one campus may have all the teacher supplies there, but the front office at another campus may not. So I can't read directly into this 19% and saying that the front office is sitting there with all the materials behind their desk and saying you can't have it. I think there's different systems on every campus. The same thing with this one. The counselors, the counselors spend time in classrooms being proactive with character lessons. This one was by far the largest discrepancy that we had in our entire survey, all 4 different types of surveys that we did. We had 57% of them say no, that there are not a lot of proactive opportunities there. But there's an asterisk here, because if you're a high school counselor or if you're a junior high counselor, more than likely you're not spending this much time in classrooms doing character lessons. So I think when you look at the 57%, you've got to be able to put an asterisk by that and then go back to the individual campuses to see where does it lie on the individual campus. If it's 57% at intermediate where they should be doing character lessons, then that's something that really needs to be addressed. If it's 57% at primary or at elementary, then that really needs to be looked at and addressed. But so look at the individual ones versus this one. This one's holistically as a district, where 57% of the teachers did not feel that there's enough character lessons being involved. And then the last one, campus custodial staff maintains regular cleaning rotation. So they are appreciated. They go into emergencies, but they don't understand that rotation of a daily, bi-daily, Wednesday classroom being cleaned and how well is it being cleaned. So that's the easy fix. That's communication. And that's communication back out to the teachers. Central office support. This is from the teachers. So GISD has clearly communicated the district's vision. Neutral to exceeds is at 98%. Central office support of campus needs at 94%. District administration has established collaborative culture in which student success is the primary goal, is 95%. A clear plan for professional development is in place at 99%. Central office provides adequate resources as it relates to students learning, 97%. The district has set high standards for academic help, it's at 94%. Then you look across the way, there are opportunities to express my ideas without fear of recourse, it's at 12%. Okay, so that's one that we need to continue working on. That's actually better than last year's number, which was about 22% from last year. So we've definitely cut that down. That's something we continuously work on. That's something that when you look at the state interviews, I don't know about the board, I didn't know what to expect. And the amount that we had is a good thing, but we continuously try to work on this. And it goes back to conversations I've had with y'all before. If we hear any type of action being recourse or retaliation based on someone coming to them, then that's a whole different conversation. So that was the faculty survey, okay? So now we're going to the parent survey, which there were 284 responses as we closed this as of 4/12 at 7:18 Mountain Time, so it's about 5:18 here in Central Texas. So looking at the pluses for the parents, did you attend? We did this one in a couple different environments. We talked about the curriculum, we talked about other things that were on them, but we wanted to include that parent engagement piece. And we needed feedback on how engaged are they, and if they're engaged, what can they want, how do they want to participate, where do they want to participate, what type of communication do they need to try to really bridge that gap there. So did you attend at least one event at your school this year? So 92% had. They feel that collaboration is vital, and they feel that 90% that the student gets the support that they need for enrichment and advancement when appropriate. So some pretty good information there. If you look at the deltas, communication between the campus and the parent at 17%, feel like they need more and better communication, which again, we can always improve upon that. Drugs are not a problem at this school, 32.91%. It stuck out, it should have been bright red, because that's one that as a superintendent, you see 33% roughly talk about how they need, there is a drug problem, and we can't ignore that as a board and team of 8, as administrative staff, as a community, we can't ignore that. So I had lunch.
You're not an asterisk on that one either, being like that's other campuses too that's answering that question.
It is, but when you did the parent one, and as you look through it, so I have 3 parents, right? Or 3 parents. I have
3 kids.
Some people have 3 parents. That's fine. 3 kids. So they may have had one at primary, one at intermediate, one at high school. Or maybe in your case, you have one at junior high and one at high school. So whenever we disaggregated it, we highlighted, okay, this set is for if they answered primary, at least primary. This one is if they at least answered junior high, or at least, so we went up the scale. And so, and there may be a small asterisk there, but I'm not going to sweep it under the rug because it's something that I feel is very, very important. I had lunch again today with one of the Ministry Alliance people, and we talked about this specifically, that this is not an issue that the school district can fight by itself. We need to do our due diligence. We need to put systems in place. We need to have mentor programs. But at the same time, this is a community issue that has to be addressed from the community standpoint. And so we are working behind the scenes right now to really, really make an impact on how do we address this. Because the word at the high school is it's easier to get drugs, either prescription or non-prescription illegal drugs, than it is to get alcohol in our community. So I've worked with Nathan, I've had conversations with Nathan, the chief, about this. And this is weighing heavy on me. I can't look at this graph and this piece of feedback and be okay with that. Even if it's a perception. If it's a perception that we still have a high issues of drugs in our community, then we have to address it. It's our moral imperative to address that specific issue. So that's ongoing, and it's something that we will have a plan for. But it has to be a comprehensive plan that's not just the school district. It has to be a community issue as well.
Well, and with this disaggregation part, even if it is just one campus,
Right.
if all those numbers came from one campus, it's still a significant issue.
Still too much.
Yeah.
I agree.
Just meant like if,
No, I know what
if
you
a
mean.
kid at the primary, if their
Right,
parents,
sure.
if they thought it was drugs were an issue at that campus.
Right.
Yeah, no, I know what
It
you're
surprised me. but-
Right. The other one, consequences for violating school rules or applied consistently, 37% roughly, or 36%, sorry. Again, that's one that is a perception, because we can't tell things that happen, on the consequence side of things. We can't tell when situations blow up on Facebook and people are saying that the school district did nothing about it. And we definitely did stuff about it, and we did it to the highest degree, but we can't say that publicly. So it goes back to how much can we communicate, how effective can we communicate and stay within FERPA, which is our laws, and that's one we can't defend publicly. So we have to do a good job of just keep communicating whenever we do have an issue, that we've handled it within the scope and gone above and beyond the student code of conduct. And that's just a message that we have to get out there. Because I don't want people on Facebook, whenever an individual student decides to do something in classroom in this video and it's gone viral, for the public to say that we haven't done anything, that kid's still in the class. Absolutely not. And that's the frustrating part, because that was handled swiftly and quickly. And but the perception was it wasn't. So it goes back directly to this delta. And so we have to do a better job of at least saying that we have followed code of conduct to the most severe possibility thing that we could do. Questions on that one? Sorry, I got on my soapbox for a second. Needed to. Okay, so these are the stay interviews. The stay interviews had 5 questions, but really it was 6. So real quickly, the questions we'll go through here. Again, there are 83 total. This one was, when you come to work each day, what do you look forward to? So, the antithesis to this is, we'll look at it on the next one, which is, what don't you look forward to? So when you look at it from, what do the teachers look forward to when they come? We coded everything as we had the dialogue. You have full transcripts of every single thing that was said in the state interview. It's the one that's landscape and has nothing but verbiage. Okay, so there's a lot of great verbiage there, both positive and things that we can do to improve, but it comes directly from the teachers. And when we looked at it, student interactions and learner outcomes, there's a misspelling there. So learner outcomes, so they love the students. That's why they got into the business. Okay, that's pretty logical. The second thing they like is the teacher interaction. So from teacher to teacher, they like that interaction. Then you get administration, and then you get the district. So it's a pretty natural occurrence. What teachers come to school for is their relationship with students and their ability to teach students. The secondary impact is their relationship with their colleagues. And those are things that teachers look forward to. What don't they look forward to? So physically, mentally, emotionally, kids being hurt. Okay, and these are skills. So a teacher may have said 1, a teacher may have said none, a teacher may have said 15 of these. So you had a few saying students being hurt. Paperwork was definitely the highest. We have to listen to that from a district standpoint. What we're making teachers do. Sometimes it's state, sometimes it's federal, sometimes it's district, sometimes it's campus. And so we have to be aware of what are we requiring teachers to do that's taking up their day in terms of paperwork. Reteaching. So you have 15 kids in a class. We talked about individual education plans, and a kid doesn't get it. How do you fit that time into ensuring that kid gets it at some point without keeping the entire class behind? So that's concerning for teachers. Student apathy. Student apathy came out in a lot of conversations, and students coming to class and not really having even the initiative. Sometimes there's also a way to look at that of how are we engaging the kids? Because I promise you, if you go to Mr. Schimmel's class, you don't have apathy. You have kids that are highly engaged in what they're doing. So we have to have some conversations around that. Evaluations, they necessarily don't like the evaluations. I don't think anyone loves evaluations. I don't think any teachers ever raised their hand and say, can I be evaluated more? So that's something that they don't look forward to. Grade level conflict. So they're on the same team and there's conflict. So say there's a 3rd grade team, a 4th grade team, or 5th grade team, and there's 10 of them in a team, and if there's conflict, that even internally on the team, that stresses teachers out and it impacts their learning, or it impacts their teaching. Administration that micromanages was the second part of this. So they don't want administrators micromanaging them, but at the same time, it was just as impactful from a inhibiting true progress as conflict with their own teammate. So we have to look at those things and how are we handling conflict within a team, and then how are we handling administration that's micromanaging or even there's perception. But then outside their team, negative coworkers. So these are the people that you walk into a lounge or you walk past and they're just talking and gossiping, and teachers that are frustrated will just keep walking because they don't want to engage in that conversation at all. So that came out actually very, very high when you look at what do you not look forward to. Contacting parents and the amount of time and energy that takes to contact parents, being unprepared, so not having enough time in the day to do all the things that we asked. And then micromanage it just from in general. And then general student discipline. So this was this other one, this last one. So nothing that surprised me, but it was good to quantify the data, and it actually supports exactly what their teacher satisfaction survey looked like. So you start triangulating the data, and you get a better picture from that versus just seeing one piece of data, and then you hear the ladge, well, no one does a survey. But if you start triangulating them, you start putting 4 or 5 different surveys on top of each other and overlaying them, you can see patterns. And that's what this is allowing us to do, to see patterns throughout. So what makes you stay employed in GISD? Location, good students, small community. This is my home. It's a great district, good admin, very open and I think encouraging, the district vision and teacher support. Those are reasons that people stay in GISD. All very positive things. How supported do you feel in your professional development? What are you learning here? If something is missing, what support do you need? So SPED revamp came up several times. Instructional coaches felt really, really supported. Professional growth. The reading that we're doing is much appreciated. Student appreciation. So just whenever students are appreciative of what the teacher's teaching them, it's a good positive thing for the actual teacher. Central office support, meeting high expectations, campus admin affirmations. So we need to pat them on the back. We need to pat them on the back and doing a good job. And then just feeling valued. And I don't think this is any different than any teacher or any human being in any profession. If they feel valued in their job, then they're gonna do a good job. If I asked you to say if I asked y'all to predict what would be the major cause for someone to leave Gatesville ISD, what do you think it would be? Pay. But head and shoulders, out of the 84 that we did, we had roughly 57%, 57 of them. So we're talking 90% or more said pay. Lack of discipline, will never leave. Someone said just the opposite. We're never going to leave regardless, and which is always good to see. Lack of early intervention. So if you listen to what Dr. Keller talked about, early intervention, the PPCD, that's exactly what this person was talking about. There's a couple people that said that. This was a lack of professional growth. So the growth to move from this job to this job to this job. And then if classes got a whole lot bigger, but again, you're only talking 2 or 3 people here out of the 84, so it's not a whole lot, but everything has been recorded. The commute's too long for some people, only a few, just a few. If there was change in the district, I didn't write these, okay, if there was change in district leadership, there were people that said that, and then, I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. I don't know if they were, if I left, they would stay, or if I left, they would leave, I don't know. And then some of them did say, maybe the same people, but regression to the old way is what it was. So that's what would make people look at leaving. So that was the stay interviews holistically. Okay, so these are the student support services result. These are 114 out of 217 that were given the information. 53% instructional coaches, GT, ESL, DIAC, speech therapists, dyslexia, and reading intervention or LI program. So very positive, very, very positive on student support services. They do a great job. We had 68% of the faculty utilized instructional coaches. They said this was a very positive thing. Yeah, that's 7 out of 10 teachers. David?
Gotta get a new chair.
That's the one that used to be here. They are yours. You used to sit right there, you fall back every once in a while. I got to you, sorry.
Gotta swap with me.
Yeah. We used to play musical chairs. And
Travis,
became president.
can you weld? The cleaning lady did it.
Yeah. So these are good to hear from the ISD standpoint. So if I didn't want to participate in a coaching cycle, my instructional coach respected my decision. So 96% of the teachers that responded said they didn't feel forced to actually engage in interaction with their instructional coach. My instructional coach was a trusting, confident, maintain confidentiality regarding conversation and administration at 96%. Supported me during by offering individual coaching cycles, 97% were there. And then you had instructional coaches who were willing to model a lesson. You had 96% of the people that responded said that they did actually model lessons for them. So really good positive stuff there. On the opportunity for change side, some campuses had built better relationships already because there were already established people on that campus. That's a natural occurrence. So if you have an instructional coach that came from a teacher on that campus who already respected as a teacher, moves into the instructional coach side of things, it was an easier transition for those individuals. Some of them still don't fully understand the role or need for an instructional coach. And then need to be more visible on some campuses. So they weren't visible enough in their eyes. Deeper thinking areas outside of their norm. So if you had an ELAR teacher that turned into an instructional coach, are they supporting the math, science, social studies, or even special education? So those are growth things that we have to look at, and how do we become more diverse in our instructional coaching. But good overall information from our ICs. This is GT. I have Liz back here. She does a fantastic job with their GT program. 93% GT on my campus provides quality service for my identified students. 92% said they were very, very happy with the GT program. Look at diags and even speech therapists, you're at 96%. So is Kate still here today? They left. So even they received very, very positive remarks on speech therapy, diagnosticians, and all things considered, I'm happy with my speech therapist on the campus for quality services at 93%. So very positive affirmations there. Across the board, ESL needs more defined and understand roles, okay? So it just allows us to go deeper into, does everybody understand? We don't have a high ESL population, so sometimes it goes under the radar. And so we need to make sure that we're hitting all cylinders with ESL students. The DIAG on campus providing with guidance to best help me identify students. So, you know, sometimes you talked about how there was a whole lot of, not how to use the word, very common language from one to the other. So what we have to do from a DIAC standpoint is really have a connection between the student, the high needs, or the special education student, the teacher, and the DIAC to ensure that we're able to get the best services for those students. So all this stuff triangulates back to things that we've heard already in different avenues. So I was highly encouraged in our surveys this year. We've never done a comprehensive survey where you're looking at 4 different areas and then triangulating them or putting them, laying them over and layering them to ensure that you're not getting any false positives. I would love to have 100% of people take a survey. I would, but to get to 77% is a great, great step in the right direction. You know, I felt the 248 parents were 84 parents were good. I would love to get 3,000, but you know, those are no better numbers than we had last year. So questions about survey? That was a lot of information. Yes, sir.
On the stay interviews, can you tell us how many people from each campus?
I've given that to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to,
so
on purpose, I wanted to have that non-disaggregated because one of the things how I sold and presented the stay interview was anything you tell me, anything we talk about will not get back to your principals. And it hasn't. So I would not want to, principals hadn't even gotten the disaggregated information because there's a trust piece there that we continuously try to build. And if I breach that trust, then I'm starting back over 0. So, you know, for us, out of all these, personally, the stay interview was the best thing that I got from feedback. All of this overlaid together shows us that the district is doing some really amazing things. And we have some work to do. We're not afraid to acknowledge the work. You know, we've never backed away from the work. We've never backed away and said that we're a perfect district, because by far we're not. But the people, not just administration, but the teachers and the support people and everyone else that is really busting their tail on a daily basis to ensure that every kid, not by chance, but by design, is receiving a great education. And the survey says that there's steps being taken to improve educational outcomes for every single kid.
Any other questions?
Hopefully, you know, it's one step at a time. You know, and it is anonymous, and you can tell a teacher it's anonymous, and there's no repercussions. And I've been on the other side, right? I've been on the other side. The only way to ensure you get 100% is to put them all in a room, give them all paper copies of the survey, and then have them fill it out. I don't want to do that to a teacher. You know, I don't, because I still want it to be optional. But the sheer numbers have to be at least looked at, and the sheer numbers have to at least say the percentage of people that did this is, typically when you do a survey, it's polarizing. You have people that want to do it because they're really, really happy, or you have people that want to do it because they're frustrated at something. But to have 77% says we're also now getting the ones that are in the middle who really want to give you some feedback.
Good information.
Well, I think what's good information is what we do with it.
Yes.
Right? Is that fair? You're exactly right. So for us to not do anything with this would be educational malpractice. And so our step is, we already have the date plans. The first week we get out of school is, how can we take this as a staff, administrative, and how do we improve? How do we get better? You know, how do we align theory and action and get better as a district? So that's what this is for.
Good. All right, 90-day review of rental of school facilities.
So we've been about a year and a half with a church that is in the process of building their own church. We get to where are we at? Here we go. So Grace Assembly Church, they use our facilities, and we made a commitment that we would look at it every 90 days to ensure that they weren't disrupting, that they still had people that were trained using the lights and the sound, not eating in there, and all of that is still really good. It'd be my recommendation to you guys to continue with the long-term agreement until their church is built, and they pay us a monthly charge on that.
Okay, we have a recommendation. We have a motion. Second. All those in favor of, I'm sorry, any discussion? All those in favor of allowing the church to continue to use the facilities? Any opposed? Motion passes. Out-of-state trip request.
All right. So you win the state championship, but then they ask for money.
Yeah.
That's typically the way it works.
And I told Mr. Sewell this year I would do it, so he can see what it's like, but next year he's gonna do it. Better be prepared. That means we're going next year. But the Gatesville High School Welding Fabrication Team is seeking permission to attend the National Skills USA competition in Louisville, Kentucky on June 25th through the 29th. The trip is for 3 members of the welding fabrication team and 2 sponsors. The cost of the trip will include hotel, meals, travel expenses, competition registration fees, and will be taken out of the Fund 182 UIL playoff.
So can I clarify real quick? Fund 182. 182 is Daryl, when was the year you started?
Playoff fund.
I know that. What year did you start that?
Oh, it's probably at least 6 years.
Okay, so about 6 years ago, Daryl started.
Fall of 12. Fall of 12.
Fall of 12. So good job. We were just checking you. John told me.
I told him everything.
I asked Daryl how long you've been doing this. So Fund 182 is set aside at the beginning of the year as a budgeted amount. So as we get into the playoffs, anything post-district will be paid for. It doesn't matter if it's UIL or it's extracurricular. Post-district will come out of Fund 182. So this money has been budgeted, and we use it for athletics, band, 4-H. Anything along those lines as post-district.
And the cost is it's a one-time cost, and I guess the reason the cost is not on there right now is.
It's on there. I put it on there.
Well, it's on. Well, I'm pretty almost seriously.
Yeah, they did it.
It's on that one. So we did just find out we won state 8 days ago. You're quick. So I recommend that the board approve the out-of-state trip request for welding fabrication team to attend the National Skills USA competition.
So the 5,000 includes airfare. Travis looked at me and nearly had tears in his eyes, saying, "Are we going to have to drive to Louisville?" And I said, "I don't know, Travis." And then next thing you know, he is truly trying to solicit sponsors in order to charter a jet or something. I said, "Stop. Is this true or not?" That is true. So I said, "Travis, we got it covered, buddy. Don't worry about it." And so he does have to spend time trying to solicit. If someone wants to donate money, no problem. We will take that. But to me, this is just as important as anything else. You have kids that win a state championship, going to compete for a national championship. You saw the product they had, the airfare. And we didn't nail it down specifically, but you're looking at about $600 a piece. Hotels about $200 for $200 a night for those nights. We put all 3 kids in a room. We'll probably separate the adults. But so altogether, it's roughly $5,000. And we do have the money already in there. We have roughly probably $40,000 or $50,000 still sitting in, or maybe $30,000 still, sitting in Fund 182.
You need a motion?
A motion? Yeah.
So make a motion.
Second.
Second.
Discussion? Rob, second. Any other questions or comments?
We have
It's
to-
great idea.
Oh,
we
got
Yeah.
Mr. Simmel, the guys won or got to take home a welding machine, is that correct?
Well, it's being shipped. yes.
It's being shipped to each young man?
Yes.
Yeah.
And a $6,000 scholarship to TSTC.
Oh, that's good.
Wow.
What do they, if they were to win the national,
Good question.
what would they get?
I don't know, I hope to answer that.
Not what will they get, it's what will they get.
Well, for me, if he wants something, he'll get it at this point.
Airplane ticket back home. So.
Yeah. I think we're gonna fly Spirit or the cheapest one we can get. But, I do want to say this about Travis. Whenever we interviewed Travis, and we had two final candidates, we made the decision on Travis, and we point blank told Travis, we expect a state championship in metal fabrication, and not just stick welding, but to say in a year and a half that it would actually come true speaks volumes to the relationship that not only has with kids, but his commitment to excellence. And I want to say that, Travis, because you're highly respected. I know you could be making a lot more money outside the field of education, but please don't go anywhere. Because, that doesn't mean out for a raise either. So just please, you know how much leverage you have.
Where is the project that they took?
I have a picture of that.
Yeah, I said I showed around. So Travis, correct me if I'm wrong, but Skills USA actually auctions that off. So we do not get to bring that home. Is that correct?
Oh,
Do y'all build the same thing again or?
We have two that are.
It will be something totally different with nationals. It's gonna be kind of the same thing again, where they give them a bill of materials and less than 5 pounds and all that good stuff, so.
We do have two prototypes that might be up for auction.
Did y'all build that in your shop here, or did you build it down there?
Well, we'll say
Where
that
you were at?
blueprint, we were kind of in the middle of making some decisions on the blueprint, and they built it twice here. After they had the print, and they built it off the print, and made some changes, corrected the print, and they built it again, and made their final changes, and then they built it again once they went down there. They had 7 hours.
Built it on?
Yeah, you have 7 hours, David,
Wow.
to actually build it there.
And so they provided you with all the tools and
At state, they take you take all your tools with you.
your own welders?
Well, they
Okay.
provide welders, but like all your hand tools,
Uh-huh.
grinders, clamps, stuff like that. Nationals, from what I understand, I think they all receive a toolbox. It's just a set amount of stuff in it.
Now Travis, tell them what you said about what they wear and all and how that's different national from state or what you know.
So at state, it gets more, I don't really know what the word is I'm looking for, but it gets more in depth, I guess, the further you go up. At state, you can get away with wearing blue jeans and the Skills USA shirt. At nationals, they have to buy the khaki dicky pants off the website, and I'm gonna need another shirt for nationals, and then.
And you said it has to be 100% cotton from their website.
Yes, from what I've understood, that's the only place you can get 100% cotton dicky pants. is from their
Are
website.
they the fireproof? Are they the fireproof, like the welding shirt?
And then, like, for the awards and stuff, the black slacks, white shirt, black tie, I have all the red jackets. and
You
stuff.
just make sure them boys don't get disqualified over a tie. A welder shouldn't wear a tie anyway, but to lose from a tie would be bad.
Proud of you, Travis. Proud of you. Yeah. Yes.
Have a good trip.
Okay, well, we have a motion and a second, so all those in favor for approving the 5,000 plus or minus? Raise your hand. Any opposed? All right. Good luck.
There you go.
Bring it home.
Good job, Travis.
Sodexo contract.
Okay, one more action item. So, Mr. President, we will be needing a motion.
Okay.
All right, so you know that any contracts over 50,000 have to be approved by the board of trustees of the school district. And this one approximates about 800,000 a year, so it's a little over 50,000 threshold. So for the new board members, we'll give you just a quick background. In the 13-14 school year, we became very concerned about the growing deficit that we were running in our food service program. It was approaching 300,000 a year. and was growing exponentially. So we, that year, started looking at alternatives and began to look at food service management companies, is what they're called. And so we interviewed several. We put it out for bids, and this is all has to be approved by the Texas State Department of Agriculture, which is under the U.S. Department of Agriculture. So they're the ones that run all the, the National School Lunch Program. And they have to approve everything, and they're very meticulous, very picky. We're now into 3 audits this year, just from the State Department of Ag with our food service program, and each time we do remarkable. She's still here? Yeah, you're still here. Passes with flying colors. We just did one here a couple months ago. I'm not sure we even shared that with you. But they did a great job on that one, and we still got probably 1 or 2 more to go. So we, in the year 2014, the board approved the contract with Sodexo, which is one of the top food service management companies in the business. We are about, I think, one of at least 7 that I'm aware of school districts in our region that are with Sodexo, and they're a very fine company. We went with them for renewed the contract a couple times, and then the United States Department of Ag told the State Department of Ag that they had to redo some stuff. So they redid all their contracts, and they made us rebid again a couple of years ago. So this year we're into the 2nd year of a 5-year bid, and next year will be the 3rd year of our 5-year contract with Sodexo. And so each year we renew the contract, and it's through a renewal, and this one's called addendum number 2. Last year was addendum number 1, so this is the addendum number 2 for the contract, and it's a 1-year contract. It's the 3rd of 5 years, and we will need to present this to your approval. Will be forwarded on to the State Department of Ag by the end of this month. So April 30 is our deadline to get it to them that we are going to renew for another year. So again, it's about $800,000. Everybody, when we made this switch, all of our cafeteria staff stayed on our payroll, with the exception of our director. And at that point, Gail became a Sodexo employee. And so she actually works for Sodexo. I don't know if the new board members realize that or not, but she actually is a Sodexo employee. And all the other employees in the cafeteria and the food service fund are district employees. So management has determined that we would like to recommend to the board again that we renew the Sodexo contract for next fiscal year, next school year, with addendum number 2. There were very few changes in addendum number 2 over addendum number 1. One is the rate increase, which is about a 2% rate increase that was in line with the CPI indexes that they use for our contract. And the dates, of course, were changed to reflect, the school year. But that's basically the only change to the contract from this past year. So unless you have any questions, we as management would like to recommend to you that we would go ahead and renew our contract with Sodexo. We're very pleased with our relationship with them. They do a good job, and we continually try to do a better job in serving our kids and our staff who eat in our cafeterias. We continue to challenge ourselves in terms of how can we do a better job? How can we increase participation? That's always, a challenge, and it's been a challenge this past year, actually, but we're not going to give up. We're going to continue working on that. We've got some things in the works. Any questions about the Sodexo contract before we go to votes?
It actually came up as a surprise. We didn't realize this was even coming up until we got guidance a couple weeks ago that we actually had to bring it back out for approval. And usually whenever we approved it last year, it should have been for 2 years?
Well, it was 5 years.
5 years.
It was 5 years. I think you were thinking that it didn't have to be approved by the board, but it's an annual renewal. It's over 50,000. So it's better to stay in good grace with the State Department of Agriculture and the board and officially approve this contract. You don't want to get into straits with the U.S. Department of Ag, believe me.
Anybody got any questions? Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Gil.
Thank you, Gil. Your group's with the executive session.
Look at him sharp.